Now, coming back to the RAS, if everywhere you read, it's all about the red in the world, which is bad stuff, then you become trained to just see them everywhere. Business is not for everyone. Sales is not for everyone. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone. You need to have the drive.
Welcome back to another episode. Today we have Nicholas Lee with us. Thanks for coming on. I will get you to do a little intro just for everyone, just so they know who you are. You can give any form of the background you want, but we kind of met each other, I think we were saying probably about 18 months ago now. And
Yeah.
if it seems like we've both done a few different things over that time, and life's changed a little bit in different places. So looking forward to diving into this. It was a really fun conversation before we pressed record, and I kind of wish we had pressed
Yeah.
record. So
Yeah.
let's just dive in, but just give everyone a brief overview, like of who you are.
Yeah. So we met 18 months ago. And I mean, back then I got into the kind of online sales kind of thing where you could sell, 5, 10K offers and make a grand in an hour, because I had already started looking to buy companies. So that was my thing that I found from a guy called Dan Pena. And I had a few deals, then COVID happened, had to restart the whole thing again, didn't have cash flow. So I went into online sales, and that just gave me more freedom. And like I was saying to you earlier, with the kind of sales skills, that means you get that financial independence, confidence, what people want to call it, is where things were to go bad, you were to lose everything that you have. You want still have that network of people who would know some kind of a guy who has an offer somewhere, and you can just get back on the phone and just build that income again, right? But my initial background is I'm from Mauritius. English is not my first language, so I've had to learn that. But I came here for uni, the normal stuff, accounting, got a job as an accountant, auditor, and I never wanted to do it though. Always thought building my own business, being my own boss was the main thing. When I got the visa, resigned on the day, and started to take the plunge and just being on my own and figure things out. And right now, I've bought a company back in September for £33, because it was like a loss-making company, and we've now turned it around, and now we're looking at scaling it. And one thing I was sharing with you earlier is one thing I've realized is, to me, one of the main skills I've built over the years is not just the skills I have, but it's how to acquire new skills just by using YouTube, by asking questions, asking the right questions, and just kind of trusting that I'll find the answer and being happy to make mistakes. So right now I've learned at least 10 new skills, because I've had to do payroll, I had to do invoicing, I had to realize maternity pays and all of those crazy shit that I would have never had to think of. I had to understand them. But because now I've got this skill where I'll read a few things and I'll just kind of piece it together, it gets easier and easier. So I guess with your audience, depending on where they are, what age they are, I would always say, if you're in sales right now, be grateful. If you're making 5K a month, realize that you're making more than 99% of the population. If you're making 10K at 19, 25, whatever, enjoy it. And then, of course, the other thing that I've learned a lot over the past few years is add value to people wherever you can. You don't need to wait for money. Like I've helped so many people in different ways over the past 10 years that now that I need them, or things are happening, they're just there. And people's mentorship that are worth like 30 grand, they're doing it for free for me, because they know I've made them more money in the long run. So again, it comes down to, I don't know how old the people kind of watching this are going to be at, but if you're 20, enjoy where you are. Most people are struggling at 20. You're doing well. When you're at 30, start looking at the next stage. Maybe that's what you wanted, maybe to dive into more, Dave, right? So let me know where you want to take it. And
100%. No, I appreciate that. So for you, obviously, you said, I mean, it sounds like buying businesses was kind of your main focus from the
Hmm.
get-go, right? Like that's something like what out of interest, what made you want to start buying businesses and get into to that side of the world? Because that's interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you're right. What was interesting is I never thought of buying a bit of buying businesses, but then I came across a guy. A few really successful people talked about him, and they were all trained or mentored by him. I had no idea what he was going to teach, but he
Mm,
lives in the castle. He he swears a lot, and I was like, well, I just want to learn from a guy that would just tell me how it is.
mhm.
So got the money through, found some credit cards, maxed them out, and just went there. And I went there for 7 days in a castle. Um, had to be dressed in a suit every day, and there
Really?
he just broke off my beliefs as to what is possible in the world. In the
Mm,
same way, like I was sharing earlier, um, add value to people, but try to find groups of people who are doing better than you.
mm,
And sometimes you won't even understand why, but you'll ask questions and they'll tell you things and it would just make sense. Or you'll tell them you're struggling with something and for them it's like a no-brainer as to what
mm,
the next step is. Sometimes it's a bit like if you are having a problem right now and you try to solve it from your perspective, you're not going to find the answer because you
mm,
are the one who brought yourself in that problem.
mm,
The way to find the answer is find people who are more successful, who've done more, and for them they've resolved this type of problems like 100 times,
mm,
and they'll just give you like the simplest answer and just go for it. But yeah, so I invested in myself to find that guy, and then he just opened my mind. Like he was sharing stories, incredible stories, where you'll buy companies for no money, you'll buy companies where the bank will lend you the money, and then you'll keep some of the money from the bank, and that's your pay. That's a
mm.
massive bonus. It could be 50K, 60K, 100K from a deal you close. And now you own the company and you've made 100K. So it just blew my mind. Like when, I used to work like in a job and you
Yeah,
make 3K a month and you're working 40, 60 hours a week.
yeah.
And that just changed everything, right? So if you
That's
guys are
huge.
listening, you're already at a much better level than most people who have a job. So, but
Hmm.
buying companies just changed my whole vision of it. Um, and what I ended up doing with that guy was he would teach us how to build board of directors, how to speak to banks, how to speak to accounting firms, and get them to work for you for free. So that also just broke kind of a
Yeah,
ceiling, one of the beliefs where I had
yeah.
60-year-olds in the palm of my hand kind of wanting to work with me. And I would just give them 1% of my company that did not exist yet. And they would all kind of want to work with me. It's crazy. And then I
That's
had
mad.
like, I used to work at Deloitte, which is like one of the
Hmm.
top four accounting firms. By the end of it, I had the fifth accounting firm to work with me for free, BDO. And I was like, shit, I used to work for them. Now I'm their client at a bigger level. Same with like a law firm. And sometimes this is the cool thing with finding people that know more than you. I just followed his steps and it just
Right.
worked. In the same way, I had the bank ready to lend me 400K for a company when I had never bought a company. I had never built a company, but I had built a massive board of directors where we had 120 years of business experience.
Right.
So one key thing is that you can take from this as well is sometimes partner with other people who've done more than you. Maybe
Mm,
you can bring in some sales skills. They can bring in some, I don't know, e-com skills, some any types of skill. But then
mm.
you're partnering with them, meaning their experience become your experience because
That's
you can
mad.
always come back to them and ask them questions about what you need to do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how you can also go and buy companies without the skills, without the knowledge. But at the same time, there are risks with everything you do.
Yeah.
Big one being they might realize you're worth nothing and then they'll just get rid of you. But you always learn something from it. So I don't know if that helps, but
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
that's kind of how I
interesting.
got into it. I actually went to the castle just I didn't know what he was going to teach me, but it was all about buying companies. And so the key thing with buying companies, if some of you don't know, it's when you buy a company, you will pay 1, 2, maybe 3 times the profit it's making as a value.
Mhm.
The idea is you group them. So when you have 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 10 of them together, instantly the value goes up. So instead of paying 1 to 3 times the profit, you will get paid, let's say 6, 7 times the profit. So,
Okay.
so the mentor calls it marginal. How do you call it? Like, yeah, you're already making a profit just by grouping them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in addition to that, if you've got the right people around you, I mean, my background is in terms of coaching people for businesses, so
Mm-hmm.
it's a bit easier for me. I do find where the gains are and how to change things.
Yeah,
But if you have the right people around you, they'll know what to do, and therefore you get to grow the business.
that's
Um,
interesting.
but the other side of this is M&A is all about also the finance side of things, like the financial system in a way,
Mm.
where if you know how to present, if you know how to talk, if you know how to show that going forward, the banks are going to have more money made by working with you. They are going to be, they will give you money so they can make more money.
Mm.
Because at the end of the
Right.
day, banks are selling money.
Mm.
That's their product. So yeah, so that also broke a few beliefs that I always thought for the banks, I'm only a client in terms of a personal client rather than someone who just borrow money from them and then
Mm-hmm.
kind of pay them through the business.
Yeah, that's huge. That's interesting. That is. So you went there just to see what he would teach you. Then you came out and basically build a board of directors and effectively had 400K ready to go on a
Yeah,
business. That's
yeah, yeah.
that's that's a pretty big turnaround, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like the people you meet sometimes, you know, people's value is in their head and you'll not know it until you
Mm,
get to know them or ask them. Like what you're doing right now, surely you've learned a lot already speaking to different people in different walks of life or what they've done.
mm,
Um, yeah, and that's why, you know, investing in groups of people that know more than you is such a valuable thing to do.
mm.
Um,
Yeah. When you're one thing I want to ask, it's along the same lines. Um, when you're surrounding yourself with these other people, or you're doing these different things, and then you're going for it, you're trying to buy businesses, whatever you're doing, how important to you is like mindset's such a buzzword, right? But the mindset over, like, so you said some ceilings were broke, right? And then you just, but like, do you see yourself as just someone who just takes action on stuff, or do you see yourself as someone who's like, you're overthinking whether you're going to make mistakes, or should I do this, am I good enough? Like, I'm just interested to see, because they're not small decisions you've made. Like, they're good steps and you've got someone to follow, but there's plenty of people out there as well that may not take those steps, even though they were at the same event, right? So, like,
yeah,
is that something where you've just naturally been that way, or you've built that up, or what would you say to that?
yeah, it's a good thing. And I've thought about this quite a bit. So it's a mixture of things. One thing I've realized is many people I mean, when I went there, I've met all
Mhm,
types of people.
mhm,
And the more I meet more people, I realize the world is just one a fuck the place to people come from different backgrounds. I guess I was lucky where my parents have always been there. They've always kind of supported me. But when you go to the castle, so the Dan Pena's castle,
mhm.
first thing he meets everyone is like, guys, you've just wasted 20 grand because you're all gonna fuck up. You're not gonna make it, all of you, right? And that's where he starts. He's like, guys, there's no refunds, but you can go home now. That's it. You don't need to stay. It's fine. There's no
Wow.
refunds though. And that's how the whole thing is, um, the world is not going to give you free lunches. It's not going to be easy. But what I realize is people come from different backgrounds. What I mean by that is some people, they were orphans. Some people, their parents didn't expect them. Some didn't want them. So when you grow up, you have those, I guess, he calls it self-belief
Mhm,
that gets built up with when people are supporting you, when, it's a mixture. Some of them, they get stronger because they have to go through circumstances and overcome them. Others, they just get more fearful because no one's there for them.
mhm.
So it's a mixture. But coming back to your question in terms of action taking, yeah, I mean, I'm the type which is more down to personality types as well, which is one key thing that I've been studying and I see them every day now. It's really helpful, which people surely in the sales industry does understand as well. You see someone, you kind of know what will help them buy into the thing. So one very important part is I'm the type that I'm just going to do things, and I will also think about it, but I'll do more than think about it. So I'll do it and then I'll think after and see where I can make changes to get better. And I've always liked taking risks. I used to play poker. I mean, I still play poker, but it's a calculated risks. I know if I fuck up here, at the end of the day, it's hard to explain because I've done so many different things and I've listened to so many different mentors and people. So, for example, one guy was like, in the world we're living right now, if you fuck up, what's the worst thing that could happen to you? You'll live on benefits. If you're in the UK, it depends on where you are, right? But if you fuck up and there's nothing left, what happens to you? Well, you just go and ask for benefits. Even then, they don't even need you to get a job, and that's the worst thing there. But that's how it is. So
that's fair.
What is to me, the way I see it now is the worst thing is if I do it and I die, then at least I've tried. But then I won't even die. And if I don't die, that means I would have learned something. And then I would just grow from that and then come back into it. And that's what I'm saying by, I've learned how to learn, because the way you learn is to just do it and make mistakes.
That's
and
huge.
Then just come back and do it again.
I like
it's a mixture. The other question you had, I think, was the one about the people you meet. So there's one exercise I like to do with people. We can do it now if you want. I even did it on some calls and closed some deals with it, and people do like them. Have you heard of the term reticular activating system?
Yeah.
You haven't? You had. So you know the exercise with the colors and everything?
Yeah. I've been to Tony Robbins' events and he does that. Perfect. So yeah, I know those.
So to me, when I got that, that's kind of to me the base of everything. So in terms of the exercise itself, if someone hasn't done it, what I would ask you to do is look around you and look for like the blue colors in objects that are around you, and then you'll try to find them. And then I'll ask you to close your eyes, and then I'll say, okay, remember the yellow things you could find. And I've done it 100 times now. People can't find the answer. They'll find one or two, but then they can't. So, and that relates to so many things out there. But the key one, coming back to the one with finding people who are better than you and who've done more than you, those guys are looking at, like you're looking at the blue, they are looking at the black, the red, the yellow that you are not even aware exists. So coming back to the Dan Pena situation, I was never aware you could buy a company. I always thought you only had to be a company to buy a company. Someone could not do it on their own. So he broke that. That's what I meant by ceiling. It's more, he gave me a new color to focus on.
I like that.
Once I found that one, everywhere in the street I was walking, I was, oh, okay, this is a shop. Can you buy this one? Oh, that's a dental practice. Can you buy this one? Oh, there's a recruitment company there. Can you buy it? How would you buy it? So then my brain is seeing the color everywhere. And therefore my conversations, my questions I'm asking to people around me are different.
Yeah.
And that's how you can already see, I mean, Tony Robbins talks about that one, which I like, is the golf analogy. Hit a golf ball and make sure let's say it's going straight to one line, right? Hit the same ball, but take it even 2 degrees on the right, over 500 yards, it's going to be way further from each other. Yeah. In the same way, if every day you're looking at the blue, and it goes in different ways. If you're someone who's very negative, everything in your life is terrible, and that's what you see every day, you're going to see more of it. You see more of it, it becomes a vicious circle, and therefore you don't like anyone. Everything just goes to shit. Yeah. In the same way, what I've trained myself to do is to literally delete anything that's negative. And I only see good in everything. It's like, what they call the silver lining. Someone like my uncle has got really bad cancer right now, and he's about to, like, a few hours left, few days left, whatever. But it's like, okay, what is the good thing? Even though you can still find something about it.
Right.
I lost the deal. Like I had a 700K. I spent 18 months to find that deal. COVID happened. And then the guy was like, there's no point selling anymore. And I was like, okay, what's good about this? Well, and this is where, again, Tony Robbins got lots of things I've taken from him. It's the quality of your life or quality of your answers is based on the quality of your questions.
Yeah.
So my questions are more, what can I learn from this? What is good about this? Rather than, oh shit, I've lost this massive deal. I'm so shit. I'm depressed. Maybe I should give up on this. I was just like, okay. Felt the pain for like a couple of minutes. And I was like, okay, what's the next step now? What do we do with the skill I've now earned?
That's
And
powerful.
then you start again.
That's really
Yeah,
powerful.
and to be fair, that's what helps me on sales calls. It's like, okay, I had a shitty lead here. Okay, blank it out, next one. Because sometimes people would get into sales calls and they got a shitty lead and then they just go into that spiral and the next one, it just keeps on going. And then they've had the whole day where they've lost 2-3 deals because they couldn't just get out of that thinking.
That holds a lot of people back. That way of thinking, not just in sales, but in life in general.
Yeah.
I think it's something that whilst there's people like Tony Robbins and all these other people that talk about it, it's not something that is, I don't know if it's not natural to take control of it in the positive. Like it feels more natural to be negative, or it feels easier to be negative, perhaps,
And
right? It
it's a
comes
good
a bit
point you
more,
raise.
yeah. And I think,
It's a good point. Actually, let me come back to that one because
yeah,
you're raising a really good point. So I wasn't that way.
yeah,
It wasn't like I was born this way.
yeah,
Maybe I was born this way, but life makes you become the negative way. Let me explain to you why. So if you're looking at the media, if you're looking at the news, and then you look at the headlines of all of the news out there, and again, that's the Tony Robbins point of view anyway.
yeah,
What is it that sells? War, rape, murder, anything that's kind of negative. Now, coming back to the RAS, if everywhere you read, it's all about the red in the world, which is bad stuff, then you become trained to just see them everywhere. And I like to use the other analogy, so for example, Dave, if I said to you, what is 2 + 2? You're like, are you dumb? That's a silly question. So you can't even help yourself from stopping your brain to say 4. It just pops up in your head.
yeah.
Why does that happen, right? You weren't born with the idea that 2 + 2 was equal to 4. But then you've built a habit over the years that just became the way you think.
Yeah.
Which brings back something interesting, which is, you might know the answer, but if I ask that to most people, I'll be like, okay, who is the person that you speak the most to every day? Who would you say?
Well, I can presume where you're going with this, but I'd say my girlfriend, right?
Yeah, and that's what most people would say, right? My
Yeah.
girlfriend, my boyfriend, my mom. But eventually, if you think, well, like right now, me asking you the question, you're just talking to yourself. And this is where what you said is right. We think we can't control our thoughts. But those thoughts were created by ourselves. But the reason we think we can't control them is it became habits.
Yeah.
So, for example, when people are watching TV, they just think I'm doing nothing. No, you're learning how those guys on TV are thinking, are saying things, are seeing the world, and that's what you become like. So that's where, if you are around people who are better than you, you're going to start to see things differently because they're going to share how they see things. If you stay in your same network, or if you're the one who's the better one in your network, you're going to see they're going to drag you to their level, which is lower than you, because they're always maybe complaining. They're always seeing the world in a bad way. Like, if you hang around people who don't have money or don't have the skills, the world is against them. Now, imagine the people that are always doing better than you. They're always positive. They're like, oh, I'm about to close this deal. I just closed that deal here. I've met this guy out of nowhere on the street, started chatting, and then now we're having a deal.
Yeah.
It's just insane. Like, even the guy I bought this business with, I met in one of those conferences. We talked about buying companies, and then he's like 17 years older than me. He's built like a few 7-figure businesses, and then I was like, well, let's work together. But I would have never found it by not being part of these groups and having
Yeah.
those conversations. But it's great what you said. It's all about that habit of seeing the positive. So if people think it's easier to see the negative, that's true because you've been trained to do it. The media, maybe your parents, maybe your friends, maybe your school. And that's why people just leave where they are and just go to better places as well.
Yeah.
At the same time, so one thing I like to teach is I've got a book. I've written it. I haven't published. It might go in about 5 years though. I've got 5 C's, which I teach some of the people that I know in terms of how to change those thoughts. And the first one, I call it conscious. So you need to become aware that you have negative thoughts. You need to become aware that you're looking at the blues rather than the red.
Right.
If you're not even aware of it, then nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
If you're not even aware that there's a color yellow or green, what are you going to do differently? You don't know.
Yeah.
So you need to become aware. Once you become aware, now you can start to choose. Now you can choose, do I want to look at blues or red? What do I want to do?
Yeah.
Once you've chosen, now you can change. And instead of just doing this, you can do that. And there's a few exercises that I have that people can start doing it, which is the fourth part, is making it a habit. Because humans are, how do you call it? Beings of habits. There's a name. You know what it is? Humans are
creatures of habit.
Creatures, exactly. Yeah. Creatures of habits. So everything we do is a habit, even though we don't know. Like even when you're procrastinating, that's a habit. When you wake up late, it's a habit. When the way you eat, the way you walk, everything is a habit. Yeah. But you're not aware. So if you want to change the way you walk, the way you talk, like the way I talk, I had to readjust. The way my voice, I was a boring motherfucker because that's how my brain is. And I had to readjust, okay, how do you have different tones? How do you pause where they are until it becomes a habit? Now I can just do it a bit more naturally.
Yeah.
Still working on it, but it's better. And it's the same thing with sales. You start to build bad habits in sales and then you start to lose your deals. But you're not aware of it until a coach or mentor tells you. But then eventually, the fifth C, I'm still figuring out what's the best one. But I've come up with a few one, which is like, now you can collect. You can collect the results of the new habit. Yeah. Or now you can just be cool and enjoy it. Because one thing is going to happen is when you become aware of those issues, it's going to be frustrating. Because it's a bit like you're going to have to pull that ball up the mountain before it gets to the top and then it becomes a habit. But that first part is where people give up quickly.
That's interesting.
Because you need to keep doing that same new thing until you make it work. So for example, let's say, you realize that you're getting hip problems and you go to the doctor, to the chiropractor or anything, and you're like, well, the reason you're getting this hip problem or the back problem is the way you're walking. So therefore you need to change the way you walk. But then you need to keep consciously doing that new walk way until it becomes the way you do it naturally. But that takes a few months to start to become that thing that you need it to be. Once you get there though, it just falls off the other side and it just keeps on getting better and better and bigger.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of see that point.
Do you this didn't quite go I was going more the business building way, but this conversation I think underpins everything. If you haven't got that self-belief, if you haven't changed those habits, these sort of things won't take off because you either won't be looking for the right things, like you said, or your self-belief will stop you from moving forward and things. Just out of interest, you said you've worked with a few people and just in general, and you seem to be pretty well versed in this topic. What do you think, or what do you see is the biggest difference between the people that are willing to do the work versus those that see the work, understand the work, but don't seem to get the results? So it's not necessarily the people who are not aware, right? So they maybe have been to the same seminars or conferences or whatever. If you talk to them, they can be like, yeah, I know what you mean by that. I see that, but they're not doing it. Like they don't get those results. What do you think the reason is for like some people will do it and some people will just intellectualize it? Do you see what I mean? That.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one to answer because everyone's different in
Yeah.
terms of their personality. So
Mm.
people would learn different. Like, for example, right now I'm learning a new skill and I've got a group of people. We're all working together, but I'm a doer. So I'm already ahead of them. But then I see them and they're like, well, there's one guy and he was like, well, you know about this, you should do this, this, this. I'm like, okay, just do it then. But he wouldn't do it.
Mm.
He's a good talker. He knows everything. Like
Mm.
we say, he's a theory guy, but
Yeah.
theory doesn't help you. It's practice. And the problem I've seen is sometimes it's the personality type. Some people are, I don't know if you know a bit about that, but there's different names and different things. But there's one which is like the color one. They call it the yellow, or if you do the gems one, the sapphire types.
Right.
They are the types that they are the experiential type of people. So
Mm.
they get good at stuff which is artistical artistry,
Mm.
but even they will never get to a level where they become like really big stars because they don't have that. You always need to drill it, like Bill would say, right? You need to drill the thing.
Mm.
If you don't drill it, you don't have a process, you will forget about it at some point.
Yeah.
But drilling is where the habit comes from.
Mm.
But you need to drill it up to a point where it becomes you, the new you.
Mm.
And to me, this is where the issue that people have is they just think it will happen just by magic. So
Yeah.
it's about breaking it up in step by step, like as little steps as you can, and just do them. But because I'm a we call it an emerald or blue type,
Mm.
I'm the type that I will break everything down into very small steps. So I think that's what helps me. I'll see, okay, Dave, you're good at sales. Okay, what do you do? All right, so this. Let me break it into steps. I'll work on the first step before I go to the next step.
Mm.
But remember, it's a mixture, man. It's a mixture between how people are sold into those programs, if you want to call it, or the coaching thing, where it's just, well, 90 days you're going to become the master sales guy.
Yeah.
Well, it's just not 90 days, it's how much time you put in. 90 days, but you only put 5 hours a week. There's no way it's
Mm.
going to be 90 days, you know?
Yeah.
And there's the drive.
Mm.
And that's why I realized, like one of my friends was saying as well, is, business is not for everyone. Sales is not for everyone. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone. You need to have the drive.
Mm.
And some people, they are just better at just doing what they are told
Mm.
rather than taking risks. And because some people can't handle the risk
Yeah.
and they just crumble. So I think,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a mixture. Depends. And also, like I
Interesting.
said, it depends on where you were brought up. Because
Mm.
if when you were born, your dad was in the military, or he was the guy that would wake up at 4 in the morning, 6 in the morning, and just work, and be
Mm.
successful. That's all you know. That's all your RAS is thinking about.
Yeah.
What my dad did is what I need to do.
Mm.
He doesn't know that you could just chill and do nothing. Maybe they didn't have TV. For
Mm.
them, TV is like a waste of time.
Mm.
And if you have that from an early age, that's the only thing you think about. You don't even know there's something else. Like in the same way, I always think about that. Think of if you were like Donald Trump's, or if you were Beyonce's kids. You only know millions and billions.
Mm.
You were born, you've got 100 properties already under your name.
Yeah.
Your world is different to anyone else. So,
Mm.
and that's the thing. We try to put everyone in the same bracket, but they all come from different places. And I realized that myself. I'm quite lucky where I wasn't rich, but I was in a place where my parents were there for me. They would always
Mm.
take care of me. So I had this, but some people, they were like on the street for Sunday.
Yeah.
So everyone's at different places, and sometimes it takes longer for others. Even for me, it took me a long time, and I'm still working on things. But others, it might take longer. This
Mm.
is the other thing, by the way. When you see someone going for like a program they bought, like even me, I guess with the Beals program, it looks like I got quickly good at this, but I was doing kind of offline sales for 3 years
Mm.
before that.
Yeah.
And some people, they come from real estate and they were good in sales, and then they just needed that one or two things to get them the next results. And people think, well, that guy just came from nowhere. It's the
Mm.
same what they say, right? Um, 12 years of hard work, but an overnight success.
Yeah.
They don't see the work that happened for the past 20 years. Like I've
Yeah.
been studying those things for the past when I started, 2011 now. So 2011, so 13 years of just being part of all of those crazy things and having to tell my parents that, well, this guy's not scamming me. I'm going to pay the money. I know I can see value. And then they keep on saying, well, where's the money? What have you made? What have you made? And then now you're like, now I can see what he was sharing with you. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, that works. Oh, yeah. Oh, I see. That's why you spend the money there. That was good. But you need to just believe in yourself that, even though for me, it's like I've spent some money as well where it didn't got me to where I wanted. But then if you think about it, like one of my uncle is a very successful business guy. And every year you'll hear him, he's 10 times his money on an investment. Right. Here's the thing, when you speak to him, he's like, well, I shared this one. You didn't hear my 9 other investments that I failed at.
Right.
Overall, you make money, but if you don't put the money, you don't take the risk, it's not going to happen. But people want that one coaching program, that one guy that's going to save their life.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like this. Everything is an investment. And that's where, to me, having that mindset of what's the positive in it, because I spent 20K in a program that was a 3-month program, whatever thing. I got one thing from it, and that was it. I could have been, oh shit, I've lost so much money there. But no, I'm using it.
Yeah.
Also, because of that one is what got me into the online sales. Right. So there's always kind of some other angles you can take it. So
I like that.
It's a choice. Right? Coming back to what you said, right? It's that responsibility that you are the one deciding the stories you're telling yourself about your life. You can always, I know you shared one of your stories that happened to you, right? When you were younger with your kid and breaking up. You could have gone downward and just give up on everything. But then you chose to be like, well, what can I do with this? What can I make it better? Yeah. It's a choice. And that's the key thing with school and education that is currently going on there. They're taking responsibility away from the kids, and they're like, well, it's the economy, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's the war. No, it's you. Yeah. Once you take responsibility, to be fair, there was a book by Jack Canfield. Okay. The first chapter on it was like, take responsibility. And then that's why I was like, well, yeah, it's all down to me. Because I used to be a Christian. I used to pray morning and night. And I realized, well, I know many people are Christian, but that's my take on it. When I pray, I'm essentially praying to myself. But the problem is people don't know how to pray. They're asking, Jesus, can you stop making me poor? But then the RS are going, poor. That's why to me, it's like, how can you, my plan going forward is to kind of come to a place where I can then teach more people how to speak to themselves. The use of words is so important. Yeah. So one key one I have on the book is I call it the word continuum. So if you think about it, anything in life is neutral. It's not bad or good. You choose how you want to. Now, the vocabulary that you have for yourself, or the choice of words you decide to use, determine how you will see that situation. Let me give you an example. Let's say I'll tell you, Dave, join my company, I'll give you some exercise, some tasks to do. And then you come back to me like, well, Nicholas, this was hard. Now imagine the word hard. The word hard, what does that mean? That means I can't do it, man. Like, I'm already lost. I've given up. So I put that on one side. I put it on the left, let's say, that word hard. If you go and put a straight line across to it, go to the other side, what's the opposite of hard? Easy. Right? But you might still feel it's still kind of hard in your head, right? But you're in the middle. You can still choose the words you want to use to determine what happens in terms of your view of that situation. So what I've said is, you can just put the word not in front of the word easy. So, Nicholas, that was not too easy, man. It defines the same thing. It's like, well, it is hard. No, it was not easy. But the word not easy makes it feel like I can do it. Yeah. I'm not there yet, but I can do it. But the word hard means I can't do it. I'm done. Yeah. But it comes down to the same RAS thing, because to me, RAS is the thing of everywhere. because
Yeah.
now I'm focusing on, okay, so easy. Okay, what is easy about this?
Mm.
So you start to find more ideas why it is easy. Then you make it work slowly but surely. But if you go straight, okay, it was hard. Okay, so that fighting was hard, so I can't do it then. You know,
Yeah,
and
it's
now imagine
interesting.
how many times during the day are you having those thoughts coming to you?
Mm.
And that's why, to me, that's, I guess, a skill that I've learned, where everything that comes to me, I'm like, okay, what is easy about this? How can I make it easier for me to find the answer next time?
Mm.
And yeah, one thing I find fun doing is just listening to people's choice of words, choice of language, choice of even structuring their sentences.
Yeah.
And that's just because I was coaching some business owners before, and they would always say, well, Nicholas, I'm losing money. I don't know what to do. I'm like, okay, so if you don't know, how can you find the answer? Oh, yeah, maybe I know. Okay, so if you know, what would you do if you know? Right? Just change one word,
Yeah.
change the view at which you're looking at something. It just opens up a new world for you.
Yeah. It's
But
fascinating.
like you said, it's a habit.
Yeah.
If you're a habit, you're stuck there unless you're
Yeah.
aware and you start making those
Yeah.
5 C's
Yeah.
essentially.
That's it. That's huge, man. This has been a really interesting topic to dive down. Yeah, because it's like you say, it may already be habit, but it's your choice whether you keep it as a habit or not, right? And now it's make that choice. So, okay. Unfortunately, we have to stop now for today, but I would love to have you back on at some point because I think this conversation is huge. I also want to dig more into, how your business buying journey's going
Mm,
on that side as well. But unfortunately, yeah, I have to end it here, which is I think we came to a good point though. But I think there's a
yeah,
lot of takeaways here today. This already got me thinking. So I know this is going to be huge for everyone watching. So I really, really do appreciate your insights today, Nicholas.
you're welcome.
This has been
That
a
was
really,
nice.
really good one, a really fun one. But really important because I think we can talk about sales skills, we can talk about business skills, but the way I look at it is the skills are the tools in the toolkit. But if you don't know which tool you need for the job, it doesn't matter how many tools you've got. Right. And I see mindset or
Yeah,
this conversation as knowing which tool needed for that job.
yeah.
Otherwise, you just pull out the hammer for everything. And that's not always
But
the best
also,
tool.
and that's a good point you raised, because the other one is that I just thought about that. It's like, your brain is the engine. The way you see things is the engine. So anything you put with the engine, you can
Mm,
put any, like you said, put any hammer, any tool to it. But if the engine can't even work because it doesn't work correctly,
yeah.
nothing's going to work.
Yeah.
So that's why, to me, the brain is the key thing, understanding. And this is the problem. School doesn't teach us this thing.
Yeah.
And that's my goal long term, is to actually build an education system with that.
Mm.
And to me, I can share with you more later, but that's why it starts with buying the first company, getting to the
Yeah.
10th, 20th. And then with that, I have a bigger platform to share. But also, it brought me, thanks for kind of inviting me here, because it also made me realize I do need to share what I've just shared here with more people out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Definitely.
maybe do more of that. But
I
yeah,
think
good
so.
job, man. Thanks for
Yeah.
getting me here. And yeah, that was fun. That was good to share.